Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Why did the FBI give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 to settle a lawsuit?
Senator, I do not know that settlement was reached in the prior administration.
Who made the decision?
The prior Department of Justice.
Who in the prior Department of Justice?
The settlement for that kind of case can only come from the Attorney General, which would be Attorney General Merrick Garland.
So the Attorney General decided to give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 after they were fired after actively interfering in the 2016 election. Is that right?
My understanding is that was a settlement they agreed to.
Why did the FBI pay $2 million to its own officials after they were removed? A judge breaks the law, gets arrested immediately. People inside the system get settlements. Same system, different outcome. When John Kennedy asked this, the hearing shifted instantly. Then comes the Hunter Biden laptop. FBI had it for months, but the public was not told. And then the question, did Jeffrey Epstein take his own life, or is there more? The room went silent. The answer, we are working on it. But when? Watch this first. I will break it down after.
Mr. Director, worry not. We'll make sure your agency is adequately funded. This judge you arrested in Wisconsin, she was breaking federal law, wasn't she?
Yes, that's why we arrested her.
She was helping an illegal immigrant escape being taken into custody. Is that right?
Yes, and the field agents decided to open the case, work the case.
And as Americans, do we get to pick and choose which laws we want to follow?
We do not.
If you're a state court judge, do you get to decide you don't want to follow federal law?
No.
And if you violate federal law, you get arrested, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
That's called equal treatment under the law, isn't it?
Yes, Senator.
You remember Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI, Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI. I think Ms. Page worked for Justice. The Inspector General found in its investigation that they hated President Trump and they really wanted Secretary Clinton to win. Is that true?
That's correct, sir.
And this would be the same same Ms. Page who sent an email to Mr. Strzok with whom she was having an affair. Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right? And Mr. Strzok with the FBI, senior official at the FBI replied, quote, no, he won't. We'll stop it. Did I read that correctly?
You did, Senator.
Okay. Now, Ms. Page got quit before she could get fired. Mr. Strzok was fired. And predictably, they filed a lawsuit because in Washington, it's easier to divorce your spouse than it is to fire a federal employee. Why did the FBI give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 to settle a lawsuit?
Senator, I do not know that settlement was reached in the prior administration.
Who made the decision?
The prior Department of Justice.
Who in the prior Department of Justice?
The settlement for that kind of case can only come from the Attorney General, which would be Attorney General Merrick Garland.
So the Attorney General decided to give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 after they were fired after actively interfering in the 2016 election. Is that right?
My understanding is that was a settlement they agreed to.
Pass me the sick bucket, please. Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims and also doesn't put out into the ether information that is irrelevant for production of the public, such as CSAM.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, now let's slow this down and stay with the record. What came up in that hearing was not speculation. It was a confirmed settlement amount, roughly $2 million combined, about $1.2 million for Peter Strzok and around $800,000 for Lisa Page. Now, both individuals had been removed from their roles after concerns were raised about their conduct during the 2016 election period. That point is not opinion. It comes directly from Inspector General findings that are already on record. So when Senator John Kennedy asked that question, it was not emotional. It was procedural. If someone is removed under those circumstances, why does the process end in a financial settlement instead of a prolonged legal challenge? The response given in the hearing also stayed on record. The decision was attributed to the Department of Justice in a prior administration, and it was stated that settlements at that level require approval from the Attorney General. Now pause there, because this is where perception starts to shift. The issue is not just the money. The issue is the contrast. How enforcement appears in one situation and how resolution happens in another. Then the hearing moves to a separate but sensitive issue, Jeffrey Epstein. A direct question was asked. Was it a suicide or something else? The answer given was, I believe he hung himself. No detailed report was presented in that moment. Only a statement that information is being processed and will be released while protecting victims and sensitive material. So at this stage, there is no final conclusion. There is an open record. And that gap between what is known and what is still being processed, that is where the questions begin.
The Hunter Biden laptop. In October of 2016, shortly before the election, the New York Post wrote a story that was widely covered, talking about Mr. Hunter Biden's influence peddling scheme based on his laptop. A couple of weeks later, Secretary of State, soon-to-be Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, organized a group of 51 so-called intelligence experts. Had some real rock stars on the list. Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Michael Hayden, Leon Panetta, and they said, oh, no, the story in the New York Post is not true. It's based on Russian disinformation. You remember that?
I do, Senator, as the lead investigator for Russiagate for the House Intel Committee.
Yeah. The FBI had had the laptop for 10 months, hadn't they?
They did, Senator.
So the FBI knew right before the election that it wasn't Russian disinformation, didn't they?
And that was confirmed by the Inspector General's report.
Yeah. Who at the FBI refused to let the FBI tell the American people the truth?
I don't have that name in front of me, sir.
Well, would you look?
I will, sir.
I'd like to know. I'd like a name, not a division. I'd like the name. A person with a brain and a beating heart.
Yes, sir.
All right, now let's move to the laptop. Stay with the timeline. The report came out just weeks before the election. It raised questions about influence and access. That part is on record. Now here is where it shifts. The FBI already had the laptop for months. That detail matters, because at the same time a public narrative was building that this could be disinformation, a group of former intelligence officials put out a statement saying it had the hallmarks of a foreign operation. That statement spread fast, across media and public discussion, but internally, the device was already in possession. So the question becomes, who made the call not to clarify this publicly before the election? No clear name was given in that hearing, only a commitment to look into it. So again, not a final conclusion, but a gap between what was known internally and what was said publicly. And that gap is what people are focusing on. If you want the full breakdown, drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for the next part.